It's March 2024, and Leonard Glenn Francis stands in a federal courtroom in San Diego. He tells the judge he's having trouble finding a new lawyer. It's a low key hearing in one of the most extraordinary federal criminal conspiracies ever prosecuted. Rachel Van Landingham is a law professor at Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles. Before that, she was a lawyer in the Air Force.
In modern US history, there's never been a case that was this encompassing, that cast this wide of a net, because we had such far-reaching corruption, accepting of bribes.
From the 1990s through his arrest in 2013, Francis admitted he bribed scores of Navy officers and civilians with lavish gifts, parties, and cash. In return, they helped steer Navy ships to ports Francis controlled via his company, Glenn Defense Marine Asia. Dave Schaus was a Navy lieutenant who ran the Hong Kong Ship Support Office in the 2000s. Schaus noticed Francis billed the Navy for supplying more water than one ship could hold and confronted him. He says Francis became angry and got in his face.
He's big and intimidating. After he figured out I wasn't gonna, back down or move out of his space, then he sat down and banged on the table a few times and said, I don't take orders from a lieutenant.
Navy records show Schaus reported Francis multiple times to the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or NCIS. He installed flow meters to measure how much liquid was actually being pumped onto and off Navy ships. But Francis and his allies in the Navy intervened.
Lieutenant Schaus, get back in your box. Lieutenant Schaus, it's not your job to investigate Glenn Defense. It's not your job to investigate Fat Leonard. But I was young and idealistic. I didn't care. But yeah, he did. He did have a lot of influence, and he was able to make my job difficult.
More than 30 people, including an NCIS agent, would eventually plead guilty to bribery and conspiracy-related charges. But the biggest case fell apart. Former 7th Fleet officers were found guilty of felony charges of bribery in 2022, but those convictions were reduced to misdemeanors last year when federal prosecutors admitted to withholding potentially exculpatory evidence from defense attorneys. Last month, federal prosecutors filed a brief indicating more convicted defendants could see a reduction in charges. Van Landingham says after 10 years, such conduct raises questions about the Justice Department.
U.S. Attorney's Office here in Southern California should have been using the utmost care in prosecuting the right way.
The court's handling of Francis raised more questions in 2022. While under house arrest, he cut his ankle monitor and fled the country. He was later arrested in Venezuela, where he remained until he was returned to the U.S. in a prisoner swap. Now in custody in downtown San Diego, Francis waits to be sentenced 9 years after pleading guilty. At Francis's March hearing, Judge Janice Sammartino gave him another 2 months to find a new lawyer. She has yet to schedule a sentencing date. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.